So first of all, I think it is the theory of anthropology which is going to be redefined. After all, the theory of anthropology has always concerned with the social reality. What kind of a social reality is? And then we had, somebody mentioned today positivism. We had social reality, which is up there. Social reality is up there, and then we can, through rigorous methods, we can uncover social reality. And we realize that social reality it is basically social construction, interpreted phenomenological approach. It is socially constructed. And then there are people like, Levi-Strauss saying that social reality is in the minds of the people, in our thoughts. But I think what has happened in the field of approaching social reality is that we have now what is called as social media construction of reality. There was something called social construction of reality, but we are now into the virtual world, and now we have social media construction of reality. The social media, which is at the level of virtual space, now the reality is created. We are talking about, in anthropology, of course, we have not been talking much about it, but people are talking about post-truth. So these post-truth kind of things, the social media construction of reality. Reality is not what we see. Reality is what social media is going to tell. Reality is how social media is going to look at things. You know that we are talking of Tukre Tukre gang. You must have heard of Tukre Tukre gang. Now, Tukre Tukre gang is not a social construction. It's not a social construction of reality. Tukre Tukre gang is a social media construction of reality. So this is, at the level of reality, when you're talking of ethnography, and I think Surya Sanatha very rightly gave so many kind of ethnographies, so we have social media construction of reality. So the very concept, those concept of communication theory which were there, where, who says what to whom with what effect, that kind of conceptualization we had. Now this all communication theory is going to be redefined. And it is going to be redefined, and this redefinition of communication theory would definitely have its reflection in anthropology as well, and how we are now to accept. So this is something is going to happen. Then secondly, I think our methods are going to change. Methods are changing. I think Surya Sanatha has actually told about video ethnography and this sensory ethnography. I think many more methods are coming in. Like I had MSc previous students who had, who I gave them a challenging task of doing a project while sitting at home. Of course, they did a project, but they did a project. You can understand. They talk to people. How do they have talked? They have come up with good exercises. So this is something is going to be I think involve more and more of internet technology, more and more of smartphone into our research, and that is going to be that is going to redefine how we can be very close to people, how can we can get the emic perspective by being socially distanced. So this is what are going to be the challenges. Thirdly, application. I think applied anthropology, which I personally feel was a product of positivistic kind of notion. Applied anthropology was perhaps originated because we thought that we can understand there is social reality that can be uncovered, and then that can be used for the welfare of the people. So applications of anthropology are again going to be redefined, and I think I don't foresee it, but that is something. Now, so what is the kind of agenda that we should have? I think one topic that has compulsorily come into anthropology today is anthropology of COVID-19. This is the new anthropology that has come. And this new anthropology of COVID-19 has a social aspect, has cultural aspect, has biological aspect, has genomic aspect, and also maybe has a prehistoric aspect. So it is the whole anthropological knowledge, anthropological theory, anthropological methods are needed to be applied to better understanding of COVID-19 pandemic. That is a recent and a very current challenge that we have. Now, I think We have had 2 days of very hectic deliberations, and these are going to be, like our worthy rapporteurs, which are very competent people. All of them are very competent. They are going to tell us what happened in these 2 days. I personally, I think, attended 97% of the discourse that goes on here. So I'll be really enjoying what they say. But I think one more agenda that I would like to share with my faculty members, particularly, is that we should think of doing something on anthropology of COVID-19. So, and maybe we'll separately discuss about it. And I think as anthropology department of Delhi University is the largest department in South Asia. It has its own commitment. It has its responsibilities towards filling the knowledge gap, that is acute knowledge gap that is there as far as the COVID-19 anthropology of COVID-19 is concerned. I think our department and our worthy colleagues and senior researchers, they definitely are. So I don't want to thank you because that is the task given to Dr. K. Saraswati on behalf of the organizing committee. But I want to congratulate. I want to congratulate you for being so active. I want to congratulate you for being so original. I want to congratulate you for being so creative. Now, whatever you have said, I think most of you have received constructive suggestions and also criticisms. That definitely should help you in improving upon. And now that we have had a very successful webinar, I promise you, when we come back to normal days, we'll have a seminar also. Okay? And we'll have a seminar. I'll be there through. And I promise that my teachers will also be there. Because generally what happens is that there we have a problem, like suppose I'm sitting there and suddenly Vice Chancellor says, you do this, and I have to go. But here, I really enjoyed because I had the freedom to be there, and there was no distance. So I thank you, all of you, for providing such a rich experience to me and my other colleagues also. And I think now, Apurva, you can take over.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like Avatuli ma'am for the rapporteur's report.
Thank you, Apurva. A very good evening to all of you, respected Head of Department, Professor P.C. Joshi, under whose dynamic leadership this event has come to pass. My amazing organizing committee, Dr. Mitra, Dr. Saraswati, Dr. Vipin Gupta. It is wonderful working with you all, and I am so thrilled to see all the faculty members sitting from beginning till the end. Of course, but the top credit goes to Professor P.C. Joshi because he was present from yesterday morning at 10 till now. I mean, others we just hop in, hop out, but still then sir was the constant factor. So thank you very much, sir. Your presence, it means a lot, not only the organizing committee, but also to all the research scholars who were presenting paper. We had 7 sessions, and that is excluding the inaugural and the valedictory. 25 papers were presented by research scholars from the department. All those papers, 25 papers, were equally good in their own way. And then as far as online participants were concerned, the first inaugural session, we had around 80 participants. And the other sessions, it fluctuated between 50 to 70. People hop in and hop out. And I think it's not intentional. I think it's mostly to do with the network connection, because there are times when we have to admit a single person at least 10 times. All right, and the chairs and the discussions were by the faculty members of Department of Anthropology. And we also want to acknowledge that the guest lecturers and the postdoctoral fellows, they also help in being discussant. Well, I will not be able to discuss all the papers, but just in brief, because the rapporteurs were amazing. The rapporteurs, after every session, they compiled the report and they emailed me. So it's going to be a huge report which will be on the website, and I will not be able to read out everything else, but just a gist of each session. So the session 1 covers advances in medical anthropology and public health. Well, the session started with Dr. Abhilasha Kapoor, and then she talked about recent approaches in the management of diabetes mellitus. And here, recent digital technologies like digital mobile app, for monitoring type 2 diabetes, or also self-care through digital education, etc. How these things are being introduced, but then she also cautioned that these technologies may remain aloof to lower income group people and also the illiterate. Vinit Chaudhary reflected on this COVID-19 and hemoglobinopathies in India, and he introduced the term 3P, that is pandemic, poverty, and pre-existing health condition. And he used this term to focus on specific population who are fighting with not only COVID-19, but also abnormal hemoglobins. And Sohini Sinha, she argued for an anthropological understanding of recent advances as far as screening and treatment of postpartum depression is concerned. And she highlighted how postpartum depression and how it is important in public health. She talked about the various screening methods, and then she talked about how mothers, especially in the postpartum period, how mothers become more anxious and and she experienced different kinds of psychological changes and so on. And at this particular time, special physical as well as psychological care and attention are needed. And she went on to argue that if this special care and attention are deprived, then the woman can be depressed for a longer period of time. And if a woman is depressed, then it will not only harm her, but also her children, and also affects other family as well. Well, in the sub-theme advances in ethnography and fieldwork methods, we divided this sub-theme into 2 sessions because we had lots of papers coming in for this particular sub-theme. Dr. Indrani expressed concern about fieldwork post-COVID-19 or post-lockdown. And she highlighted various protocols which are issued by WHO and other government agencies. And she stated how these protocols may bring a change in the fieldwork setting. And with all these new norms of keeping social distancing, putting masks on our faces, it'll be difficult for us to get information the same way, the conventional, traditional way. And she argued that if when the pandemic subsides, we anthropologists, researchers, we may face or we may encounter communities. We will encounter communities, of course, but then again, we have to be more cautious because people may not be as welcoming as before, and they may view researchers and new people with a lens of suspicion. And to which there were important comments from Professor P.C. Joshi and other faculty members. And I think all these comments will be incorporated in the final report of the rapporteurs. Somen Raj talk about how Sora painting, how it plays an important role in the religious life. And then he went on to discuss how the things have been changing because deities like Jagannath have taken the center stage in Sora painting and making Sora art a modern day melting pot of traditional practices and modern beliefs. And apart from that, also the commercialization of Sora art all over the world, in which the art is being represented on garments and handicrafts and so on. Miss Ankita Mehta introduced the concept of well-being in the context of migrant workers. And she talked about her qualitative study, which is actually based on fieldwork, where she tried to understand the lives and working condition of migrant workers. And she stressed on the importance of establishment of rapport. And I think establishment of rapport is something which we are taught at the beginning when we start this training on research methods. In the sub-theme on the advances in biochemical genetics and molecular anthropology and forensic science, we have 3 papers, and Mr. Imna Meren Longkramer, he presented brief introductions on epigenetics in biomedical research, and he talked about hypoglycemia, he talked about diabetes, which is a complex, multifactorial and chronic condition, and which is projected to rise to 642 million people by 2040. And Imna Meren, he hypothesized that hypoglycemia is mediated by alterations in global DNA methylation. And what is interesting is that his research findings showed that significant DNA hypomethylation was found among the people who have elevated blood glucose as compared to those having normal blood glucose. Sunanda Rajkumari presented a brief introduction on metabolic syndrome, which have become a major public health challenge globally. And also it is associated with the development of type 2 diabetes, coronary artery disease, cardiovascular disease, etc. And I think this paper was based on her 2 populations, Mizo and Lengmai of Manipur. And she reported that the increased prevalence of obesity and type 2 diabetes among the Mizo as compared to the Lengmai. And she also talked about the frequency distribution of mutant allele of FTO gene, which is found to be higher among the metabolic syndrome case group of both Lengmai and Mizo. But she also talked about how it was not statistically significant. Manisha Karlia she talked about electrocardiogram, and she talked about it as an emergent era in biometrics, how it is a way of identifying someone through digital processes, and how it could prove to be more secure than pins and passwords. But then again, she also talked about the limitations of biometrics because it includes false rejection, false acceptance, etc. Monica Kulshrestha presented her paper on the prevalence of musculoskeletal injuries among Katuk dancers, and it was beautifully presented because she herself is a classical dancer, and she talked about how the around 62% of dancers' performance are affected due to injury, and she suggested that awareness regarding the recognition and prevention of musculoskeletal injuries should be created among Katuk dancers. Under the sub-theme Advances in Anthropology of Development and in Gender Studies, Sarika Negi, she talked on the spatial approaches in anthropology, and she focused on, with special reference to homeless population in India and in the United States. And then Sarika beautifully brought out the representation of space and how the spatial approaches, which are taken from geography and revived in urban anthropology, and how it has helped in understanding the concept of space rooted in urban complexities. Well, she made a comparison between India and the United States to understand the homelessness in a better way. And she came up with this idea that in India, there is a close interaction between caste, poverty, and homelessness, whereas in the United States, it is mostly associated with the ethnicity, or for that matter, race, poverty, and homelessness. Kanika Sharan talked about how spaces are central to social relationships. And I think in her presentation, the veiling practices and dichotomy of public and private space in a village in Rajasthan was discussed. And she put forth the idea of veiling. Veil is not just a practice, but it has inherent meanings which are associated with veiling of eyes and voice, and it is also strictly associated with the concept of honor. And this was followed by a presentation from Saptarshi Baragi. He talked about LGBTQIA and communities and how the term queer evolved over time. And he talked about how this political term gives the LGBTQIA communities the space. And rather than forcing them into binary categories, which are set by the society, and the term queer, which was a hate word in everyday speech, but how now in the contemporary, how it is used within political activism, and also it is also incorporated in academic theory. So looks like this kind of usage is like a conscious reclaiming of the term to put it into more positive and productive way. Echi Konyak talk about the approach of visuality, materiality in understanding body supplementations and body modifications in the study of material culture. And she also talked about autoethnography, and she discussed two basic components, the emotion and the notion of shared language. And she shared her experience, while working in her own community, and she said that through emotion, you develop a quest to learn more. And again, through shared language, there is no conflict of understanding. And she feels that, it gives her a deeper sense of responsibility. Now, the thing that I want to share with you all is that not only an autoethnographer, but every ethnographer, every anthropologist, whether you are studying your own society or not, I think it is important that we should be accountable and responsible towards the people that we study. Under the sub-theme Advances in Political Anthropology, Tribal Studies, and Environmental Anthropology, we had interesting papers. Krishna Kant, he explored the paradoxes of implementation of government policies and their consequent socio-economic changes in a multi-ethnic village of Rajasthan. And his findings suggested that the Bhil committee, that is a scheduled tribe in the village, they have been most impacted by the development programs, which compelled them to lose their agricultural land and livelihood, especially because of land acquisition, and which has made them victims of environmental degradation and everyday politics. Richard Joshi talked about the role and position of women in relation to land. And this is actually a case study among the Tharu of Uttarakhand. And her paper revolved around the social movement, social arrangements and negotiations in relation to land between men and women, and also inheritance of land practices and how women keep negotiating their position, their status in this traditional society of the Tharu. And there's one very interesting paper, which is more of a review by Shankar Jyoti Saikya. It was on bourgeois environmentalism vis-a-vis urban ecology and reflection of praxis in Delhi. And this paper was more of a review of a book of Amitabh Bhaviskar's book, The Uncivil City, which was published in 2020. And the presentation built up on the notion of bourgeois environmentalism and how it, according to him, how it, it can offer or it can contribute towards this discipline of environmental anthropology. There were some interesting discussions, and all this discussion documents will be added in the final rapporteur's report. Under the sub-theme Advances in Paleontology, Physiological Anthropology, and Public Health, we have this very interesting paper again, Sayak Chakraborty, and he talked about the discovery of a new hominid called the Denisovans, and how it went on to shape much of paleoanthropology in the recent times. Although the fossil remains were discovered, the name came because of the fossil remains which were discovered in a cave in Russia. And he talked about how these Denisovans represent a unique lineage. They are different from Homo erectus, Neanderthals, and modern humans, yet they have coexisted with them during Middle and Late Pleistocene. And however, Sayak Chakraborty concluded that genetic analysis of their fossils have shown that many modern human populations have derived some kind of ancestry and also some adaptive traits from the Denisovans. So I think the detailed report will be available again. KV talk about the association of obesity with prevalence of hypertension among the Bhil tribal population. And what is in his paper, he talked about, we earlier thought that obesity was a disorder of affluent, rich, and urban populations, but then again, in his studies among the tribal population, we find that due to recent nutritional and epidemiological transition, tribal populations have also been burdened with both undernutrition and obesity, kind of extreme polar ends. So which when combined, it becomes a deadly dose for future cardiovascular events. And an interesting paper on the mental health was presented by Shagufta Naz Ansari. And Shagufta, she examined the contribution of anthropology in the global mental health, and she used this SWOT analysis, that is strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. And this particular paper, I think it captured the interest of the faculty members, who came to a conclusion that the physical anthropology and the social anthropology should come together and work towards how anthropology can work towards global mental health. Sukhmani Kaur talked about blood pressure and hand grip strength, and in her paper she examined the relationship of hand grip strength to blood pressure among the adults of Sikh community. In the last session, it was actually under the theme of advances in ethnography and fieldwork methods, and Rashmi Patel deliberated upon a month-long fieldwork which was conducted in Lucknow city, and she discussed the challenges of conducting fieldwork in privately owned infertility clinics. And she talked about how working in such field sites often requires overcoming complications of gaining access, dealing with gatekeepers, dealing with structures of hierarchy, structures of power, and so on. And she asserted that these methodological challenges necessitated the researcher to engage in an on-site negotiation and also question the academically established notions of what is ethical research. Harmeet Kaur talked about understanding migration from lens of qualitative methods, and she threw light on various qualitative methods which are important when you're studying migration particularly. And she also specifically talked about photo elicitation, one of the recent visual methods which are used to generate data. Subratik Pathak, he deliberated on life history as a collection of stories of individuals' life, and he attempts to tell the story of a priest in Vaishnava shrine by collecting memories and presenting them in a very coherent manner, and that was what we witnessed this evening. And lastly, but not the least, Suryasnata Mazumdar, she talked about the advances in ethnography, rather new directions in ethnography, and how the classic ethnography has expanded expanded its boundaries, going beyond the tribal studies, and how we, and also keeping the basic essence of anthropology intact in the contemporary world, and the world is actually become digitized. So since that was the last paper, and I'm sure almost all of you were present there. So while listening to all our vibrant resource scholars, remember all our resource scholars are all ardent field workers. Now it is evident that ethnography is heading to different new directions. It could be visual ethnography, it could be multi-sited like Saptarshi talked about, or it could be mobile ethnography. You know, Sarika, Harmeet, and Kida, they were talking about migrants. So, and also autoethnography, which Saptarshi also is an autoethnographer. Ichi is also an autoethnographer. So like these are the new directions in ethnography. And again, I think that ethnography method post-COVID-19 may turn towards virtual ethnography, or even shared, or not shared, but network anthropology as one of the methods. I'm not saying the methods, but as one of the methods in this anthropological research. And the comprehensive 20 pages report will be available on the website after a few days. So thank you very much for this time. Over to you, Apurva.
A very good evening to all of you. Actually, I always believed the training in social anthropology in our department, and where Professor Srivastav taught and Professor Joshi is presently teaching, I always believed that people are trained to make papers, to write books, to give talks from the data from the air. They can just see the air and write something and talk something. That is what the training is. To such people, you provide something in material. That is what our research scholars did today. They provided so much of data, so much of material. And the result is today's Dr. Avitoli's talk. Though I missed few sessions or few talks, she gave such a beautiful gist of the whole thing. It's so wonderful. And you know, the physical anthropology papers, this Imna's paper, like Kevi's paper, she made them more important than what they did. Now I realize that their data is more important after hearing Dr. Avitoli. So that is the beauty of social anthropology, maybe. I don't know. We are not that good speakers, but still I try to make something out of it. Now coming to my original duty of thanking, I cannot be very professional. You know, here everybody is so professional. I can't do that. But still, one thing is thanking somebody. I think I feel very nice. Why you thank somebody? Because somebody did something for you. So here I am thanking so many people. So many people have done something to me or something for me. That means everybody is liking me. So it is a very nice opportunity that I am given this duty of thanking people. First of all, Joshi sir. Actually, this seminar was to be held in maybe in the last week of I think April, and he gave a date also, but unfortunately for some reasons we could not stick to that date and we had to postpone it. And every morning he will call, at least in a 2 days gap he will call, what happened Saraswati, what happened Saraswati. But once the call is there, then I call Abhitoli, I call Mitra, and finally we get together and think of something and something, and finally we came, this seminar has shaped into. And then we had a WhatsApp group, you know, like all the faculty members. And amazingly, all our faculty members were very, very cooperative. And finally, we could hold the seminar successfully, I think. And I felt so good. Yesterday in the inaugural session, after the inaugural session also, the papers were so good. Everything was going on so well. And for me, talking to people like this on a computer from sitting in various places, you know, it is something miracle that is happening. I can't imagine it. I never thought it will be so easy, and Avi had made it possible. And so, Joshi sir, and once, you know, I don't know if you remember Dr. Ravi, I told Dr. Ravi told me, let us do it just for Joshi sir. I said this. Hannah, do you remember? I said we wanted to do this just because Joshi sir said we have to do it, we will do it. And we decided to do it and we did. And thank you so much, sir. We never thought it will come so well. Maybe your expertise, your vision, you must have seen this would be so good. And finally, we could reach to your expectations. I think so. Thank you very much for your support and your guidance, sir. Next, coming to the faculty members, all my colleagues, junior colleagues, Most of them are junior colleagues, except Dr. Mandal or anybody. Most of them are juniors. So though we are all in the same position, most of them are juniors. And then they were so cooperative. Any message in the group regarding the seminar, everybody's thumbs were up. Nobody said, no question, no negative comment, nothing like that. Everybody was so enthusiastic. They wanted it to happen. That was shown in their messages. So we were encouraged with those messages, and it pushed us towards this event. So I'm thankful to all of the people who consented to be participating in the seminar. I want to name them. First is Dr. Mandal, Dr. Manoj, Dr. Murray, Dr. Mahajan, Dr. Shivani, Dr. Kennedy, Dr. Murray, Dr. Kiran, and Dr. Mitashri from my department, my colleagues. Thank you so much. And then next is participants. All the research scholars who presented papers and also who participated and listened to everything. That is also important. It is not that only those are presenting, they are here, there. But how many people are watching now, Dr. Ravitoli?
68 people. 68
all of them. So it is very nice of them. So thank you so much for their participation. And they were given very little time. We did not give much time, just 1 week's time. We gave them time. So they just prepared, they conceptualized something, they took out some data. Somehow they could manage to present a paper. So nice of them. And thank you so much to all the research scholars of our department. Very active group as such. I think for the first time, research scholars are being, shown here in the department. No other department did till now. We are doing it. I'm proud of this event. Third is, research scholars from various other departments of various universities in country. It is not only our department or Delhi. Many people from Odisha, other parts are also participating. I also thank them. Hope you also have gained something out of it. You enjoyed our deliberations. Thank you so much for your presence here. Then coming to the contract teachers, just 1 day before I called Asta. I think Dr. Vitali, we remembered that we have to include them. I told Asta 1.5 days before, Asta, I want you all to be coming, participating here. She said, okay, madam, we will do it. Immediately they all came up, Rajiv, Asta, and Aisha. 3 of them agreed to be here, and they did what they had to do. And thank you so much. And all the postdoctoral fellows, especially in Dr. Indrani. Wherever we do something in the department, she is with us. And thank you so much, Dr. Indrani, to be a discussant also in one of the sessions, and also to present a paper. She played 2 roles. For 2 things, I really thank her. And then the research scholars who acted as rapporteurs. And it is so good. If Avi has spoken here so nicely in the session, that is all because of those people, those rapporteurs. I don't have the list of the names, I'm sorry, but all of them have done a wonderful work and have been emailing everything to her, and finally we could come up with a nice report. So thanks to all the research scholars who were here as rapporteurs. And then and now coming to, I think most of the people have been covered. In our team, I am being the oldest by age and also senior most. Okay. And the biggest thing is convener. Joshi sir gave me the big prestigious position, convener. So for this reason, I also need to acknowledge my team members. First thing though, senior is Dr. Mitra, but I would like to start with Dr. Ravitoli, because if Dr. Ravitoli was not there, I and Mitra would not have done anything, because this is unimaginable for me to do anything on the computer. If you believe or not, if my student Imna is not there, I can't even forward my email. Even today in this lockdown, I have to give a message to him to forward. So with that knowledge of computers, you can't expect me to conduct this online seminar. So it is just because of Dr. Ravitoli this happened. And I tell you, the way she did the whole thing, it's amazing. Number one. And I was thinking, why haven't I done, why didn't I do anything with her in the past? I think in future, if I do something like this, I should not leave her. I have to catch hold of her, because her expertise, her passion, her commitment, her timing. Absolutely amazing. Very good. I felt so good working with her. I'm really thankful. I mean, thankful is not a right word, but I feel so good to be with her and working with her. Then last, Mitra sir. Mitra sir, any event I did till now in the department, it is always Dr. Mitra. So I'm used to him. We both fight, we both talk, we both do, discuss everything. And here, we both just facilitated Dr. Ravitoli for the work. We did not do anything much. We just, of course, written part of the concept note was done by Dr. Mitra. He, of course, a social anthropologist, he has to write well. So he wrote. So after writing, so we just little, Savitoli was very happy with it. I got another social anthropologist. So I was also very happy. If social anthropologist agrees to something, I have to agree, because they are the people who can create things out of air. Everything was done, and Dr. Mitra did so nicely. And then afterwards, we both were just with her wherever she was stuck. Little things. Should we do this or not? So we should say yes or no, something like that. But everything was done absolutely by Dr. Ravitoli. But even the presence of Dr. Mitra was important, because there are certain points where there is some need, some little advice was needed, which was given by him. So thank you so much. After all this, I'm a strong believer of God. I'm thankful to the Almighty for whatever happened today. I'm really, really happy for the whole thing. Thank you very much, Sir Joshi sir. I'm really thankful for this. Yes.